Hello and welcome to our professional development. Today's PD is geared towards helping us as teachers better serve our rising number of ELL students. I recently conducted an interview with current ELL teacher Quinn Zizis. For those of you who do not know Quinn, she is a first-year ELL teacher at the elementary level, however a fourth-year teacher in the district who previously taught German at East High. In interviewing Quinn, I really sought for her to address two main points that all teachers in our district need to be aware of as we welcome more and more students who are either native speakers of Spanish or from Spanish-speaking countries, students from Bosnia or who are first generation born here in Iowa, as well as our most recent growing minority group who are students from Myanmar, Burma. We as teachers need to be aware of how we can serve these students better. So the first main point of discussion between Quinn and myself was to try and tap into what makes learning English so difficult. And second of all, how are we helping our students learn English better and ultimately be more successful in school? One of the first things I asked Quinn was to talk about the differences between her previous teaching position, where she taught German as a foreign language, and teaching English as a second language. The most notable thing she cited was the level of motivation is much higher for students learning English because they really understand the implications of learning English on their education as well as their social worlds. I think we need to realize that English for these students is a huge indicator of their success here in American schools. Later on, I asked Quinn if she felt she was more or less successful teaching any one minority group, and although she doesn't feel as if she is, she did offer some great advice to all teachers of all ELL students. She did suggest that it is important to familiarize yourself with the native language of those students, as it can offer a lot of insight into why students make specific mistakes in word order or other grammatical constructs. Learning a little culture may also help you understand their classroom demeanor or social habits, as their social habits may be a part of their culture. In some cultures, it is customary for students to show respect by simply being silent, and so sometimes they're not getting the help they need and do tend to suffer in silence because they don't want to be disrespectful to us. So please do be cognizant of that. Quinn also shared some great strategies for teaching ELL students in the classroom, one of which is total physical response, or TPR, which we all know so much about. But there was some really interesting research published in Corrections Today, which is a journal about education and social issues in the correctional system here in America. The study I'm referring to actually reported on an ELL classroom in a corrections facility in Maryland, where the instructor used TPR to teach food vocabulary and cooking instructions. So the students use gestures to remember things like cut, chop, stir, and then actually use fake food to carry out a recipe. Another strategy is to use visuals, and additionally, teachers can also model. So Quinn models speech, writing, songs, activities. She uses anchor charts, which are another type of visual that is a visual that models. So the anchor chart will have, topic sentences and supporting details and give students the best possible example of what they need to be doing so that they can replicate that. Quinn also talked about how to differentiate for the ELL student. An excellent point that was made is to remember that these are not students with IEPs or Title I students, so the differentiation is often a little bit different. Some ways Quinn differentiates are the same as her frequently used classroom strategies, which are things like visuals, gestures, pantomiming. A great idea for differentiating that Quinn uses in her classroom is to give options for assignments. So she did a project on the Alamo where the kids could either make a brochure enticing tourists to come visit the Alamo. They could pretend they were the broadcaster reporting on the Battle of the Alamo for a TV news broadcast, or they could do a writing assignment that was kind of a book report style and cite some sources and really play to their writing strengths. So options make students feel like they're in control of their learning. It's huge for classroom management. It's a great way to give students ownership and create the type of feelings that motivate students and improve their attitudes towards learning. there is a book called Second Language Acquisition, an introductory course that I really recommend to anyone looking to improve their knowledge of what ELL teachers and students go through to try and better language acquisition. There's a section of the book that talks about non-language factors. The non-language factors are things like the home life, culture, age, motivation, aptitude, really anything outside the bounds of L1 and L2. This book makes a really strong case for motivation being the deciding factor in how quickly and thoroughly students are learning language. As motivation goes, there is a theory proposed by Dr. Stephen Krashen. He actually speaks and presents all over the world on linguistics, language acquisition, the importance of reading, training your brain, and the theory I want to mention is the theory of the affective filter. And this has been presented a number of times in a number of locales across the world. And basically this theory says that a student's affect affects how they learn. So if you're positive and upbeat and creating a warm, caring environment for your students, they are going to acquire language and knowledge of your content much better and more quickly than a student that doesn't feel welcome and has a poor attitude towards your class, maybe because of something you even did or didn't do to make them feel welcome. The implications of that are huge. It only goes to show that it is our job as educators to differentiate for our students, to make sure they feel comfortable and like they do have a choice in their education. Some implications for classroom teachers with all this information are to make sure that differentiation is there, especially in middle school and high school. Students are in content-based, classrooms for 48, 50 minutes at a time, and there tends to be a lot of content reading that varies by subject, especially as our district pushes towards literacy. We are all doing more reading and writing in every single subject in every single classroom. So in regards to content reading, teachers can differentiate by providing ELL students with simplified versions of content text. According to an article actually published by Clara Brown, who is very active in second language acquisition and linguistics, ELL students who read a simplified text perform significantly better on assessments than students who struggle through authentic text before they're ready. So as differentiation goes, another recommendation made by Quinn was to use visuals to aid learning, and for the purpose of content reading and subjects outside of the ELL self-contained classroom, teachers may try to incorporate content maps, which are really an intense version of graphic organizers, which so many of us are already using in our classrooms. Content maps or organizers actually give the teacher a chance to model what they're looking for and what they want the student to take out of the reading, as well as providing that visual organization that makes students able to kind of see these larger concepts laid out nicely. In summary, learning English can be difficult, and we are getting a lot of kids coming to us who do not speak English as their first language or their language at home. Therefore, we need to be doing our research and our own homework on how we can best accommodate these students with new strategies and differentiated instruction. Some of these things can be so simple, so there's no reason why we aren't doing them. Things like visuals, simplified text, modeling, and just making our students feel more comfortable. So reaching and teaching our ELL students is crucial because they are a part of our school system and our community. So we will continue to have professional development and acquire strategies that can help us as teachers help them as ELL students.